Rachel Langley. I own Cabrini Healthcare Services, doing business as Homestead Direct Primary Care is my little family medicine clinic. I have 5 kids and a wonderful husband, and because it's named Homestead, I have a cow and some chickens too. But of all things that lead secular couples to NFP, to natural family planning, I never expected phone apps to be one of them. But you see, a lot of women out there are curious about trying to predict their cycles, and they stumble across fertility tracking apps, whether they're Catholic or secular, and they try them out. They're surprised to learn the mystery of their bodies, and then find out, independently of the church, but led by the Spirit, that they are indeed fearfully and wonderfully made. I remember a particular patient I have cared for. I'll call her Anne. Dark-haired, covered in tattoos, works as a bartender in a restaurant that I've heard is really good downtown. And when I first met her, I wouldn't have been surprised to hear that she'd already had her tubes tied at age 26 because she was so confident that she never wanted to have kids. Instead, she surprised me by already being radically open to life in her own way, because she had found one of these apps and was practicing timed abstinence with her live-in boyfriend. And it wasn't the best situation, it's not what I would have wished for her, but I really saw her innate love and appreciation for the patterns of her body, and her not trying to force those somewhere else with a pill, but instead taking advantage of the signs that God has given her. I think we're going to continue to see more interest in natural family planning as people become more aware that it's a viable alternative for spacing pregnancies. As a family physician, I see a lot of the ways that we're all often willfully neglect our bodies. We convince ourselves that it is too overwhelming and impossible to do some kind of gentle exercise for 20 minutes a day, that I will feel deprived all the time if I don't get to eat only the food that I'm craving and instead of what is actually nourishing for my body. So it comes as no surprise to me that women are often stuck on the idea that natural family planning is too difficult and confusing. It's not worth it. But that's Chris's side. I get to be on the side of women who are practicing NFP and seeing that their health is reflected in those cycles, and it isn't optimal. I'm a physician who pursued special training in interpreting natural family planning charts to use that information to lead them to better health. That's what Naprotechnology is. I mean, imagine being a man and not having this guiding light of a cycle to encourage you to decrease your stress levels so that your cortisol, your adrenaline levels can decrease and allow you to have fewer missed ovulations. Men blunder on in the dark thinking that their anxiety isn't really impacting the longevity of their lives. But women tracking their cycles, they get to know. Or another example that I see, it's an incredible thing to be able to add a low-risk hormonal pill timed precisely to assist your cycle, to assist your fertility hormones rather than squash them down with the pill. And that low-risk hormone pill also helps you sleep. It also decreases your PMS, and it extends the infertile time between your ovulation and your next cycle, so you might actually have a chance for a romantic evening of connection with your husband when in between driving your kiddos around and staying late at work. But that's the kind of magic I get to work as the only Naprotechnology trained physician in town. So it's called Naprotechnology for Natural Procreative Technology, and it seeks to treat common health conditions in women by working with her cycle and in accordance with church teaches. It was invented at the Creighton Institute by largely Dr. Thomas Hilgers, who is an OB-GYN, who was inspired by John Paul II's theology of the body to take previous methods of NFP and research the heck out of them, and then publish to the general medical community about how well they work, that they actually have efficacy. And then, not only did he do that, but he took the next step of researching, okay, once we have this knowledge, what can we do with it? What common health conditions can we reduce or eliminate by working with this information we have about women's cycles. So things like polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, PMS or premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or infertility. These conditions are often treated inadequately with a birth control pill or with the dehumanization of in vitro fertilization for fertility. And there are times when surgery is involved. That's when I refer to Bella Health up in Englewood. They're the next nearest Naprotechnology provider. But everything else, I mean, a lot of things I can handle down here. I interpret tricky natural family planning charts and try to make them easier to live with. So for example, a woman might have spotting all the time. I could treat her with a simple in-office procedure and make that go away. A woman might have a confusing, constant discharge that's making her wonder where she is in her cycle. And sometimes I can send simple bacterial cultures and treat with a round of antibiotics, make that discharge go away, and that chart so much easier to figure out. Or a woman with that short time between when she ovulates and her next cycle, that's when I would use that progesterone or hormone pill timed carefully with her cycle to assist rather than suppress her cycle and make sure that she can enjoy some times of connection with her husband without interfering with her fertility. And then there's perimenopause and menopause. They bring new challenges, and the medical community is coming more and more to accept that the low risks inherent in hormonal therapy are definitely worth the benefits of women getting better sleep and thinking more clearly during that major transition in their life. Naprotechnology seeks to heal and cooperate with the body that God has given us, supporting natural conception and working with the marital act and promoting the dignity of the human person. And that's why it's in line with church teaching, whereas things like hormonal contraception, artificial insemination, they're not. And I can understand why sometimes it's different to see the difference between overriding your hormones with a pill versus supplementing them with naprotechnology. They're kind of similar to like suppressing pregnancy with an IUD versus avoiding intercourse during fertile times. It seems like the ends aren't that different and the means are the same, so how could it be that big of a deal? But for those in the trenches doing those actions, there's a world of difference. It's like the difference between losing weight by throwing up after every meal versus using 12 hours to abstain from food every day. The means of achieving that end is essential to where your mental health is when you reach that end, whether it's avoiding pregnancy or losing weight. For couples learning NFP, I actually see that having a difficult chart that needs my help as a gift. It's a chance for me to show them that NFP charting isn't a burden, it's actually going to lead to greater life, to greater benefits. Especially when you compare to the risks and benefits of hormonal contraception. There are plenty of women that have no clue that they are so overwhelmed, so overburdened by stress, that their body gives up on trying to ovulate every month. And if they did, perhaps they would be able to take the time to make rest and play a priority in their lives to bring those stress hormones down. With the tools of tracking cycles, we receive great insights on how to better care for this temporary home of ours. She is so hardworking. She is deserving of our respect and attention, which is why I provide Naprotechnology healthcare to the community at my clinic for Catholics and non-Catholics alike. I find that women like Anne can be led to appreciate the beauty of the church when they see the healing that Napro brings to their lives and to their relationships. I see it as a tool for evangelization. Because just like Anne could possibly see, if the church is right about something so monumental as reproductive health, then maybe it's right about a few other things too.